Hey guys, I am Black Ops Amazing. So over the time span that we've had Call of Duty Zombies from Treyarch, we have had a total of, I believe, 28 different zombies maps, if you don't include the smaller ones like Town, Farm, and the spin-offs. Our main zombies maps, to do with our storyline, we've had around 28. And of course, having that many, there are always going to be the favourites and the least favourites in the community. There are plenty of videos out there on YouTube ranking zombies maps from worst to best. We know that some of the best maps regarded by the community are along the likes of Horizon Draka, Mob of the Dead, Origins, Kino der Toten, Buried. Maps like that are usually at the top of our lists. And then one map in particular, which I want to focus on in this video, that is usually at the bottom of people's lists, being one of the worst we have ever had, is Zetsubou no Shima. But I was thinking, is that map really as bad as we think? And this is interesting because Charlie Intel did a survey on their website. I will link it down in the comment section below, or description, sorry. But basically they ran a poll where people ranked their favourite zombies maps from worst to best. I will show you up on screen now. As you can see, Horizon Draka is first from BO3, which I would definitely agree with. It is probably my favourite as well, along with a lot of other people's. However, Mob of the Dead, Origins, Kino, Buried, they all come very close. Of course, it all just depends on your playstyle and what atmosphere you like, but in general, I believe these maps come close to each other. And then coming in at 6th is Ascension, 7th is Shadows of Evil, 8th is Gorod, 9 Moon, 10 Derice from World at War, 11 is Call of the Dead, 12 is 9, 14th is Die Rise, 15th is Nuketown Zombies, 16th is Revelations, 17th is Blood of the Dead, which again, I find that quite strange because Mob of the Dead is at number 2, and then a remake or remaster of this map, Blood of the Dead, somehow comes in closer to the bottom of the list at 17. I can see why it's definitely not as good as Mob. Personally, I don't believe it's that bad though. And then coming in at 18, which is very surprising, is Green Run or Transit. Transit is regarded as one of, if not the worst zombies map we have ever had. So to have it ranked in at number 18 on this list is quite strange. Although I do know some people actually enjoy it just because it's different. And then in at 19 is 5, 20 is Classified, 21 is Nact, 22 is Shangri-La, 23 is Dead of the Night, and then in at number 24 is Zetsubou no Shima, 25 Verorkt, 26 Shino Numa, 27 Dead Ops Arcade, and 28, the worst zombies map ever regarded by the community, is Voyage of Despair. And you know what, I can actually agree with that. I think Voyage is a terrible map. For what it should have been, it was the most hyped out of all of the BO4 zombies maps. When we first saw the trailers, Voyage looked absolutely amazing being on the Titanic, but when it came out, it was a total letdown. But this kind of again gets back to the main point of my video. Is Zetsubou no Shima as bad as we thought? Because if you ask anyone what the worst zombies map we have ever had is, the answer is either Transit, Voyage, or Zetsubou no Shima. If you look at most of the ranking videos, or just ask people in general, most people will give you those 3 answers. Yours may be different. Like I said, it's a matter of opinion, but overall it's those 3 maps that come in at the bottom. But I was thinking, was Zetsubou no Shima really as bad as we thought? Was it the map itself that gave us a sour taste? Or was it actually the whole process that led up to us getting it, and also its initial release? Because if you take your minds back to April of 2016 when this map released, there was a massive time span that we had to wait between DLC 2 and 3. We put up with Zetsubou no Shima for so long without hearing of any news for the next zombies map, which was Gorod Karovi. We had so much time to play this map and process it. I think we could tell that a lot of people hated it just by how angry the community got that DLC 3 took so long to come around. There was no anger between DLC 1, Horizon, and DLC 2, because Horizon was so good, but because a lot of people hated Zetsubou no Shima and we wanted the next map, Gorod Karovi, to come, there were so many videos being made about how it was basically taking ages for them to release it, or at least give us some information. And I remember first seeing the trailer for this map and how different it was to any other zombies map that we'd had previously. It actually looked like a zombies map that would be scary, something that we hadn't had for a very long time. I would say since maybe Transit or even before that. And then of course we were looking forward to finding out what exactly Takio's origins was. We guessed by this time we were going to kill Takio, since that's what we did in the Giant and Dry Zone, and also from Easter eggs that we found in previous maps. We knew that we were going to this map to kill Takio, but we didn't exactly know how it was gonna go down. So there was a lot of hype and expectations leading into this map. But when it finally released, it definitely didn't live up to it. It was a, well, total letdown. First off, before we even get into the actual storyline or Easter eggs, anything like that, the map was so glitchy. Initially, when it released day one, it was in a terrible state. We hadn't had this for any other map previously, but Zetsubo no Shima for some reason was a total mess. There were massive glitches, I remember, with the spiders, and even I think it was a week or two after release. I don't even know if it's still a problem now, but textures weren't loading in, specifically for the spiders. Even sometimes the models for them wouldn't load in, so you'd have creatures hitting you and you wouldn't see them. A lot of the time, for me at least, it was unplayable. It just wasn't enjoyable. It was annoying. Now, they did end up fixing a lot of things. Like I said, a couple of weeks after release, it was in a good enough state, but that was the first time we'd ever really experienced anything like that in a zombies map. Or if you're comparing that to the state of Black Ops 4 at the moment, or not at the moment, but you know, when maps for our most recent game released, example, Classified, the fact that the Easter egg on that was glitched, meaning we couldn't do it legit, and there were a ton of problems with BO4 when it released. But back then, for BO3, everything was perfect, and in my opinion, Black Ops 3 was the pinnacle of zombies. One of, if not the best, zombies experiences all round I have had to date. Zetsubo no Shima was just something we hadn't really experienced before. I don't think we quite know how to take it. In my opinion, it kind of seemed like this was the first time that Treyarch messed up. Yes, there was Transit before this. That wasn't as good gameplay wise, but at least glitches it didn't really have any. Zetsubo no Shima was the first time. But then as we get into gameplay, there was just something about it that for me wasn't fun to play. This was, again, one of the first zombies maps I had played that I didn't really enjoy. It wasn't a map that I wanted to go too high rounds on. It was at the time probably my least played map. Why? Just because the gameplay wasn't that fun. The map had a dark atmosphere which was dreary. It wasn't very scary, which is what we expected it to be. Instead, it was more annoying. There was only one real big training spot that you could do, which for me isn't a problem, but if you're new to zombies, it could be quite difficult to play. It was pretty tight. A major problem for me was the amount of thrashers that could spawn in at once. You could literally have 10, 20 if you let them build up, and even when you killed one, there was the chance that it could come back and respawn or create a new one a few seconds later. The other mini boss were the spiders, which actually I really liked. They were something totally different. Instead of the usual hellhounds or crawlers, spiders were really unique. They were pretty easy to kill, although sometimes difficult to find, and the fact that they would web up your pathways would create a challenge. And then let's not forget as well that there was the giant spider, which was kind of like a mini boss, and this again was something unique to Zetsubo no Shima. We'd never really had anything like this in a zombies map before, a mini boss before the final main boss. It was something totally unexpected, and now I think about it, it hasn't actually really been done again since then, and I don't know why. Just like on Shadows of Evil, there were the pods that you can open, that you can take items from, which I think is a good feature. We've also seen that from the dig-ups in Origins. There were the zip lines and the sewer pipes, a great way to get around if you needed to. The wonder weapon, known as the KT-4, was, I would say, one of the letdowns. It was very similar to the Soliquifier from Die Rise, so for me it didn't really feel new. And then against the zombies, it wasn't too powerful, but you could say the counter to that was it was really good for the thrashers. So it wasn't, you know, that mind-blowing wonder weapon like, wow, this is definitely in my top 10, but it wasn't totally useless. Yes, you did have to build it, which is always annoying, but at that time in BO3, that was a normality. And then the other special weapon that we had was the Skull of Nan Sapwa. Probably my favourite special weapon ever. If you compare this to something like, I don't know, the Ragnaroks or the Annihilator, the Skull of Nan Sapwa is so damn cool. The way you get it, doing the ritual, the backstory behind it, Nan Sapwa protecting the island. This weapon alone was one of the reasons why I'd want to play this. So as you can see, there was a ton of great things about this map. Yes, the Easter egg had parts that was annoying, however I don't usually like to count that. For the general player just playing this map, there were a lot of good things about it. I truly believe the main reason why this is regarded as one of the worst maps is, one, because of the bad start that it had, waiting so long between DLC 2 and 3, how many glitches and how buggy it was to start off with. I think that just initially gave people a sour taste, and also just because it didn't live up to expectations. It wasn't scary like we all thought. The atmosphere was dreary. It was a pretty boring map to play if you didn't have all of the items or if you weren't going towards a challenge. The layout wasn't the best, so gameplay wise it wasn't fun, but storyline or Easter egg related, it was. There were plenty of Easter eggs on this map, whether it was the large Apothicon sea monster, whatever that thing was, out in the distance once you reached round 50. There were loads of smaller Easter eggs and ciphers. From Maxis, there was the jump scare of the doppelganger. Again, that was really cool, one of the best Easter eggs in my opinion that we've had. There was definitely plenty to do. It was just the gameplay side and its initial release that let it down, but going back to play it now, I actually had quite a lot of fun. And I haven't even mentioned the main Easter egg or the ending, because leading up to it, of course, we knew what we were going to do. We knew we were coming here to kill Takeo, but when we finally got to the end, where we fought him as a giant mutated Thrasher, we found out that he'd been betrayed by the Emperor and sent here to be tortured and used as a test subject by Division 9. And then when it finally comes to Takeo having to collect his soul, we see he commits Suppaku, which is a Japanese ritual, I guess you would call it. Takeo kills himself, which is extremely sad. We can see the whole lead up to it, the way he spoke to his older self. It was very emotional. This, for me, was one of the best endings, along with Blood of the Dead, especially emotionally, that we've had. In my opinion, the ups on this map outweigh the downs. There is a lot of good, yes, there was some bad, but I definitely don't think it's as bad as we remember. You know what, for me, Zetsu no Shin would have always been at the bottom of my list, but thinking about it, if it wasn't for the initial mess-ups, it's really not that bad. And I definitely recommend, if you haven't, go back and play it again. Let me know your thoughts. So, there we go. That is it for today's video as always. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like, rate, and of course, if you want to, if not, it doesn't matter. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, goodbye.